This is the story about a homeowner here on Oahu that almost lost everything. He almost lost his home because he was about to get foreclosed on, all the equity in his home. He would have lost his financial credibility and tank his credit, and he would have probably walked away with nothing and potentially end up homeless. But thanks to me and my investors, I was able to prevent all of that and end up helping the seller walk away with over $130,000. I'm Jeremy Mateo, and if this is your first time watching these videos and you don't know who I am, what's up? I'm a Hawaii real estate broker and investor. I own my own brokerage. I own multiple businesses, and I've helped numerous clients, including myself, buy and sell real estate on the island of Oahu. So I am very familiar with the home buying and home selling process. And unfortunately, I am very familiar with this kind of situation that this homeowner was in. In this video, I'm gonna tell you exactly what happened with the seller's personal situation, why he was getting foreclosed on, what the process was like when helping him decide on options, and then me buying his property and helping him walk away with $130,000. So let's take this back all the way to October of 2024. A friend of mine reached out to me via Instagram DM. Yes, Instagram, which is honestly how I find all of my clients, my deals, my investors, everything. So if you're watching this right now, go ahead and follow me on Instagram at @JeremyMateo. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe to my channel and like this video. Okay, so anyway, my friend DMs me on Instagram. He said their family, friend, uncle was in trouble. He said their uncle got a letter in the mail saying that he was going to get foreclosed on in 30 days. By the time my friend was speaking to me, it had already been a week since his uncle got that letter. So that meant he had about 3 weeks until he was going to get foreclosed on, which meant we were running out of time. So my friend gave me his uncle's number. I reached out and we were able to connect, and he explained to me the entire story about why this was all happening. And what I'm about to tell you is honestly extremely sad. So apparently he had been living in this condo for about 4 years. He bought the condo all cash, using the funds he received from selling his parents' home. So at first, when he told me that, I was thinking, wait a minute, you sold your parents' home, got a bunch of cash, bought this condo all cash, and you should still have a bunch of cash left over. What went wrong? Shortly after he bought this condo, his sister apparently asked to have access to his bank account. And then unfortunately, according to him, his sister stole all of his money and the funds that was left in his account. So because of that, he wasn't able to keep paying the monthly HOA maintenance fee for the last 4 years. Then finally, the HOA got fed up as expected and then sent him through the pre-foreclosure process. And now if he didn't sell his property to pay off that HOA lien, then he would get foreclosed on ASAP. If he gets foreclosed on, you already know he would lose his home, all the equity that was in it, and after that, credit would be affected because of the foreclosure. When that happens, he definitely will have a hard time buying a home, and he may even have trouble trying to even rent a home. I mean, if you think about it, if this plays out, the worst case scenario that ends up happening is that he could potentially end up homeless, which at this point was a really big possibility. So after hearing that, I felt so bad, like hearing about someone being put in a tough financial position due to their own family betraying them and stealing from them. I don't even know what to say, like that's just heartless, So after the phone call, we scheduled a time for me to meet with him and see the property and see what I could do. Now, when I got there at the property, man, this situation just sucked even more. He was in a small 1-bedroom condo by himself. It wasn't in the best shape, and there was no electricity. There wasn't any electricity because he couldn't pay for the electric anymore. Apparently, my friend that introduced me to his uncle that I mentioned at the beginning of this video, his family was helping him pay with some of the bills, and they just couldn't keep doing it anymore, which I understand. So after stepping back, I kind of analyzed the whole situation about the funds, the timing and all that, and I gave him 2 options. Option 1, we would list the property on the market and sell it like a normal sale. I would treat this like a normal listing client where I would prep the listing, put it on the market, and then we would just have to see what happens when we can find a buyer. This option would give him the most return because he would sell it at market value or around market value. But the only problem is, again, we have only 3 weeks to get this sold. And there's a lot of problems with that. First problem is finding a buyer in general. Like, this condo wasn't in the best shape, so selling at market value would be very unlikely. Second problem is, even if we do find a buyer ASAP, and maybe it's not at market value, but we find someone, it probably would take us a week at the very soonest to find one, because you gotta put it on the market, you gotta do open house, you gotta do all this, then you get an offer, and then you negotiate the offer back and forth. Like, it's just killing time. And by the time we get under contract, we maybe have like 2 weeks to a week and a half to get this sold. And with that, it's very unlikely for a normal retail buyer with a conventional loan. Third problem is, as I said, this is a conventional loan and it takes about 30 to 45 days to close a conventional loan, which we did not have. The only way we would be able to make this work with option one is if we found a cash buyer and close this within 3 weeks. And I told all of this to the seller. And he's like, okay, well, what's option two? So I said, okay. Second option is that I would be the one to buy the property. I've done this multiple times with so many sellers in the same exact position. I can close extremely fast and make that 3-week deadline before he would get foreclosed on. However, I did explain to him the only catch is that I cannot buy this condo at market value. In order for me to safely buy this property, to make sure that I and my investors don't lose money, is if I buy it below market value. And essentially, the price I did tell him that I would offer is extremely low. And because of that, I told him, I know this is not ideal, but what I can promise you is certainty. Certainty that I will close before the 3 weeks and he can walk away with well over 6 figures in his pocket and he doesn't get his credit affected. And I even promised him that I will help him find a new rental to move into, so that way the whole process is just me helping him out of this situation from start to end, so that, you know, even when I do buy it, like, he's taken care of. So I told him, you know, I know it's a predicament, so take your time to think about it. And before I could even finish my sentence, he said, nope, I don't need time. We were running out of time. Let's just go with option two. I trust you. I don't need top dollar. Let's just sell this before the 3 weeks, go home, write the contract, send it to me, and I'll sign it. And it was super crazy. But that's exactly what I did. So after we both signed, I got right to work right away. I brought the deal to my hard money lenders, then I showed the deal to my private money lenders, and then I found someone willing to lend $50,000 in gap funding. And sure enough, I closed in time within the 3 weeks, and he didn't get foreclosed on. Sure enough, after closing, I found him a nice rental for him to move into. He walked away with $130,000, and boy, let me tell you, he was so relieved, so ecstatic that everything went according to plan. And honestly, like, it was such a crazy and fast experience, but I did spend a lot of time with him because he didn't have a car, so I was like driving him around to different places. And after a while, you know, after this whole process, like, I feel like he's an uncle to me too, like, after everything. And, you know, I am glad he was able to trust me and I was able to fulfill my promises. I turned his pain into an opportunity where I could solve his problems, help him walk away with a bunch of money, credit intact, and a new home for him to live in. And for those investors watching, if you're curious about the numbers of this project, I'll explain it right here. I bought the property for $200,000. I spent about $5,000, maybe a little more on the rehab, which was to paint, fix and clean the bathroom, put in new carpet in the bedroom, buy all new appliances, and of course, hire staging for when I listed it on the market. I listed it at $330,000 and ended up selling at $322,000. So in the end, this was an all-around win for everybody. It was a win for the seller, of course. This was a win for me. This was a win for the investors, and everything went according to plan and went really smoothly. And what's awesome is that after all is said and done, this process took about maybe like 60 days from buy to sell of this property. I made about $66,000 in profit. My private lenders made about $3,000 from their investment. And again, the seller didn't get foreclosed on. He walked away with 6 figures and he got a new place, a new rental, and he was able to have a fresh restart. Am I happy with this? Of course. Look, even though we are buying these homes like below market value, there is still always risk, you know? There's never a deal that has zero risk. If an investor tells you there's zero risk, then it's a scam. If I bought this condo and let's say there's like another pandemic that happened, then what, you know? But like, you know, that's just a risk I'm willing to take to help homeowners out of these situations. And when you take risk and you do good with good intentions and you execute correctly, you are rewarded for that risk. And you know, this is the name of the game, at least the game I play. And you know, when you have distressed homeowners, you figure out solutions, you fix the problem and turn their painful situation into a winning situation in which everyone is able to win. And like, you know, what's crazy is that the more experience I get, like the more deals I do and the more like people I talk to and you know, get into contact with, the more I realize that there's so many people in this similar situation like this. Like, and what's crazy is like a lot of them don't know there are solutions like the ones I provided, or like they don't have the opportunity to meet people like me who can think of creative solutions like what I just did. And they just end up getting foreclosed on. And it's sad. Like, it really is sad. And I wish that more people who are in this situation could meet, not just me, you know, like there's so many investors out there. Like I hope that they can meet investors who think like me, who of course have good intentions. You know, there are slimy investors out there, which I freaking hate, but I just hope that they're able to meet more people like me. So, you know, if you're watching this and you, or maybe someone you know is in a situation like this, please reach out to me via Instagram DM or send me an email. My email is info@jeremymateo.com, and just reach out to me. Once you reach out to me, you know, I promise that I will think of the best possible solution to help you or them out. You know, maybe I don't even need to buy their home and flip it. Like maybe I just list their home as their realtor and we get the job done and boom, they're out of trouble. You know, whatever it takes, I'll get it done. So if you're watching this, you know, please, again, reach out to me and then we'll collaborate together and think of the best possible solution for them, for you. And there you have, guys. That is how I saved a homeowner from foreclosure, helped him walk away with 6 figures, helped him find a new home, credit intact, avoid foreclosure. I said that already. But yeah, if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching till the very end. If you haven't already, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel, follow me on Instagram. I push my Instagram hard because that's literally where I find and meet so many of my clients, my deals, my investors, and most of all, people to help. So thank you again for watching. I'll see you on the next video. Thank you.